For more on all of this, we're joined now by Richard Johnson. He's a lecturer in U.S. politics at Queen Mary University of London and comes to us live from Oxford, England. Good morning, Richard. The polls do show that there is this kind of burst of enthusiasm for Harris right now. What's going to be her biggest challenge, her biggest goal that you can see in this upcoming Democratic National Convention?
Well, this convention has had to be completely overhauled from where people were planning it a month or two ago. You often hear people say you don't have a second chance to introduce yourself. First impressions are very important. But actually, I think this is an opportunity for Kamala Harris to reintroduce herself to the American public. If you think back to what this convention probably would have been about had Joe Biden not stood aside, this would have been a convention about the policy achievements of the Biden administration, which have been overshadowed in many cases by attention on Donald Trump and his legal woes over the last year or so, and an attempt to try to reorient it, looking at where the economy was when Joe Biden came in 2021 and where it is today. And although the economy is not in perfect shape, it is in a much better condition. Now, Kamala Harris is going to want to make that message, but she'll want to be much more forward-thinking than I think a Joe Biden convention would be. And we started to see some substance put on her policy agenda earlier in the week when she talked about reviving child tax credits, providing a subsidy for first-time home buyers. So she's trying to, I think, build on a sense of certain accomplishments of the Biden administration, but also to chart her own path.
Now, Richard, we're expecting to hear from President Biden on Monday, who is not running for re-election, but had anticipated to be kind of headlining this convention until he dropped out. How important is his speech going to be, and what kind of impact do you predict it might have on the presidential race?
Well, I think Monday's focus will be an opportunity for the Democratic Party, in a sense, to show their thanks and gratitude for Joe Biden and for not just his presidency, but his vice presidency and his many years of service to the Democratic Party, going back from when Richard Nixon was president, when Biden was first elected to the Senate. So I think there will be a moment of kind of a historical rounding off of a long political career there. But I also think there is a little bit of still unbroken tension in the room. It's clear that Joe Biden did not want to stand aside. He did everything that he could after that debate in June to try to stabilize his candidacy and try to demonstrate that he could and should be the nominee. And although he ultimately made the decision to stand aside, he didn't really even provide an explanation very explicitly as to why he was doing that, other than it for the sake of party unity. I think President Biden will really need to get the message across that he is enthusiastic about the Harris-Walz ticket, that he's fully behind it, that he has no regrets about standing aside. Because at the moment, although, of course, Joe Biden has said nothing hostile against Kamala Harris, he was critical in her getting the nomination by endorsing her so early on after standing down. But yet, I think we've not seen the kind of love-in that the Democrats might want to see from Joe Biden on Monday. So there'll be a lot of looking back. But again, I think that looking forward element from Biden himself will be pretty critical.
And of course, one of the voices that is lamenting Biden withdrawing from the race is none other than the Republican presidential candidate, Donald Trump. Richard Johnson in Oxford, England, thank you very much for your observations.